Hello, I'm Theolyn Cortens, and here I am with another Mystical Wisdom video. In this session, I want to just explain or try to explain something briefly, which is actually quite a big topic. In previous videos, I've talked about how when we meditate, we can do some inner gardening and we can plant seeds. And those seeds that we plant while we're in a deep state of meditation have got perhaps extra potency than thoughts or ideas that we might have when we're functioning on a more everyday level state of awareness. So, for example, with the law of attraction that was very popular not long ago, and The Secret, the concept was going around, and it's not a false concept, it has got some truth in it, but the concept was that you can kind of attract things into your life by thinking about them or by putting them on a vision board and so forth. So it's kind of what people would call sympathetic magic, that you bring up a picture in your mind, or you choose something out of a catalogue, or you identify something mentally that would be good for you in a kind of daydreaming situation. And then by putting attention on that, it's more likely, at least more likely, not definitely, but it could well be more likely to come into your life as an actuality. And this does work. I mean, I've found that it works, and I found that it worked at a time when I hadn't even heard about the law of attraction. My mother seemed to be very good at it as well. She used to go shopping and say, I'm sure we can find so-and-so in a charity shop, or I'm sure I can find some nice perfume. Oh, at a much better price, she said. And then we'd go off to another shop, and it was almost as though there was a little trail of a concept in her mind that would call her in the right direction for what she was trying to find. So it's quite magical, but I think it's quite natural. If you go into a deeper state of awareness, which is kind of underneath your everyday consciousness and even underneath your daydreaming, you can introduce just a very lightly, very simple concepts. And you do that not on the basis that you want something, not on the basis that you're on a mission to get something, but on the basis that you want to shift focus in some way. And with the Schaefer method, what I teach is, number one, how to get to that very deep space. So you're going beyond or deeper, I mean, deeper is just a metaphor, really. It's almost like a sense of expansion as well as depth. And some people will say they were going higher. But beyond or transcending what is your everyday consciousness, so that you feel that the everyday things that you might want, like, a new coat, or you want to move house and you want to find a better place to live. That's happened for me. But if you go into a place beyond those everyday concerns, then what you do is you introduce the characters, as I call them, which are little symbols, and they're made of orbs of light and lines of light, and they're like an alphabet. And each one of those characters has got a concept attached to it. And one of them is actually called abundant manifestation, but it's not got any particular manifested idea attached to it. It's just abundant manifestation. So then, you don't have to think about what you're going to manifest. It's just abundant manifestation. And then deep peace or heavenly protection. So the concepts are very simple. They're always just two words. And what's great about these is that those characters could represent exactly the same concept, even if English wasn't your first language. So it doesn't actually matter what the language is, it matters what that character represents. So stage one of learning my technique of the Schaefer method is always to get to that place. It's to get to a place where the everyday stuff is of less importance to you. The shopping lists, whether it's for next week's food cupboard, or whether it's for next year's holiday, or whether it's for the property ladder, all those shopping lists are not significant here. However, using the characters at that deep level will make you realize how much more deeply you can be connected to the divine source within you, and that will naturally bring you in contact with exactly what your soul needs, whatever that might be. So there's much less of a need to want stuff or desire stuff. I'm not saying you shouldn't, and I'm not saying you won't, but it's less of an issue, and it's less of an anxiety, and things start to change in your life. Now, why should this happen with characters and shapes and so on and so forth? I wanted to mention an astrologer I know called Theolyn Gunsberg, her name is. She's a very brilliant astrologer, and she's also very brilliant on graphology, which is the study of handwriting. And in her classes, she suggests that you just change one of the letters in your handwriting, the shape of the letter. I won't go into it in any depth, but you can look up Theolyn Gunsberg and find out more about it. But what she's saying is that in your handwriting, you are displaying content, of course, of your whole psyche. And that's why graphologists are employed sometimes to help identify people who will be good for a job. Or perhaps sometimes graphologists are hired to read letters sent by criminals to the police. So what kind of person is this? What kind of person are we looking for? What Theolyn suggests is that you've only got to change the way you write, even to a tiny extent, like dropping down with a letter below the line, lower than you would normally, or sending a letter higher above than you would normally. And that fine-tuning of the way you actually write your alphabetical letters will make a difference to you inwardly in your psychic arena. And that's because you're doing that with these letters of the alphabet, whichever alphabet you happen to use, of course, if you change the way you write them. So that's an interesting, that's a very big topic actually. It made me wonder, about the different scripts that people use, of course, in England or in Britain, where we use a certain alphabet. Historically, people have been taught all kinds of different ways of writing those letters, from the Victorian copper plate to, the more recent, simpler styles of writing your letters. But if you go over to different scripts, like Hebrew, for example, there's not many ups and downs. There's just this kind of square pattern all the time. So that's a very interesting topic. But to go back to the inner level, this is what we're doing. We're using our little symbols to make a difference at the psychic level, very directly. You could draw the characters on a piece of paper once you get to know them. You can draw them in the air, you can draw them on your hand. And the shape and liveliness of the character, determined by the lines and the orbs, has got some vibrational resonance with the concept that goes with it. So it's a deep topic, but it's actually very simple to learn. Once you have got the hang of, and I often say it's like riding a bicycle, once you've got the way of doing that, getting really, really deeply into a level of your own awareness where you feel expanded, surrounded by love, still, calm, totally quiet. Once you get to that arena, and then you just drop in your characters because you've learned the characters, then that's really magical. And you start to get magical results on the outside in your everyday life. It makes a difference. It makes a difference to relationships. It makes a difference to abundance. It makes a difference to your ability to be in the world as the being that your soul always wanted you to be. It's soul work, and it's very special and very magical. And I invite you to find out more about it on my website. And I would be delighted if you would like to learn it with me. Many blessings, and keep shining.